Tales from Black Manor takes viewers on a haunting journey through 7 centuries of supernatural bargains, bloodshed, and immortality, as it explores the Black family's macabre relationship with death itself. Released in 2025, this chilling anthology peels back the layers of time to reveal how one family's obsession with cheating death creates a legacy of murder and eternal life that spans from medieval battlefields to modern bedrooms. Through interconnected stories narrated by the Keeper, we witness how generation after generation of the Black family discovers that immortality comes at the highest price: the lives of those they claim to love. The film opens with the Keeper explaining his role in documenting the myths and fables of the House of Black, which first established its dark connection to death in 1309 through Alistair Black. We're then transported to the medieval era where Alistair narrates a story his father once told him about a woman in a blood-red dress in the woods who claimed to be Death herself. She prophesied that after his father's death, his 2 sons would wage war against each other, with the victor being the one who killed the most soldiers in her name. The reward? Death's actual heart, which she had carved from her own body. Alistair explains that when his father died and he took the throne, he and his brother engaged in the foretold war at a place called the Tanglewood. With every enemy soldier Alistair killed, he whispered Death's name, eventually claiming victory and establishing the House of Black. This marked the family's first encounter with one of the Deaths. For as we learn throughout the film, Death isn't a singular entity but rather multiple beings with different appearances and motivations. This crucial origin story sets up the Black family's centuries-long relationship with these supernatural entities and their pursuit of immortality through sacrifice. We then meet little Ivy Black, who grew curious about her great-great-grandfather's legends. Believing that finding death before death finds you allows one to make a trade, Ivy sought to discover how to achieve immortality. She consulted the Witch of the Tanglewood who taught her cryptic chants: blood for blood, bone for bone, life for death, death for life. Following whispers that led her through a mysterious mist, Ivy eventually encountered Death in his castle. When she offered to trade her brother's life for her own immortality, Death gifted her one of the 7 books of death containing secrets no mortal has ever known. Armed with this knowledge, Ivy returned to Black Manor and began her killing spree, starting with her brother, then her mad father Atticus Black, and continuing without remorse. With each sacrifice, she extended her unnatural life. As the Victorian age arrived, the Black family formalized their dark heritage into ritualistic practices. We meet Susie Black, who recalls how her mother told her bedtime stories about the Deaths, and how the Black family rejected the natural balance of life. On the night of Susie's coming of age, her family gathered in the Tanglewood and sacrificed a stranger to trade for her eternal life. When she awoke after the ritual, Susie could sense Death around her, who greeted her as Mommy's little star, and confirmed she could now live forever. However, immortality came with rules, as Susie explains. First, one could still be killed. Immortality only prevented natural death. Second, paralysis was a fate worse than death. Susie mentions her cousin Alice, who was buried alive in the Tanglewood, conscious but immobile for eternity. And third, aging still occurred, albeit very slowly, which is why continual sacrifices were necessary to maintain youth. Despite these drawbacks, Susie embraces her eternal existence, watching the world change around her while she remains fundamentally unchanged. The narrative then shifts to World War II, where German officers Adolphus Winter and his brother Helmut used the war as cover to search for Black Manor, which had been abandoned when the family fled. They had heard rumors of the supernatural power associated with the location and carved a path of death across Europe, hoping to attract Death's attention. When they finally discover the empty manor, Adolphus waits for Death to appear. When Death arrives, he explains that not all deaths are equal. Soldiers killed in war were destined to die one way or another. To achieve true immortality, Adolphus would need to sacrifice lives that weren't meant to die. Understanding this requirement, Adolphus begins killing his own Nazi soldiers. His brother Helmut, whose loyalty remained with the Third Reich, is horrified by this betrayal. Adolphus admits that by the time he finished, he had killed more Nazis than Russians, British, or Americans combined. His reward was eternal life, giving him forever to decide whether he's proud of what he did. This segment offers a particularly dark twist on the film's immortality theme, showing how Adolphus subverted his own supposed cause for personal gain. In a surprising perspective shift, we next hear from Death himself, or one version of Death, who explains how he came to Black Manor during World War II searching for his brother, another Death who had grown fond of the Black family. Instead, he encountered a young soldier named Jack and, appearing to him as a young woman, fell in love. Death explains that each of the Deaths has a weakness. His brother's is power, while his own is courage. He was captivated by Jack's bravery in the face of certain death when he marched off to war. After Jack died in battle, Death brought him to the land of death and dreams, unable to resist his attraction to the young soldier's courage. The film then jumps to more recent decades, where Black Manor has become a local legend and rite of passage for thrill-seeking teenagers. A young woman named Kat explains the rumors about little Ivy Black, who allegedly still haunts the manor centuries after achieving immortality. When Kat and her friends decide to explore the manor on a dare, they encounter horrors not shown explicitly to viewers, but implied to be deadly. We're introduced to Bloody Mary Black, another immortal descendant who bathes in blood not for its healing properties but because it feels good. It feels powerful. Her uncle Oliver taught her to hunt victims in the suburbs, starting with low-hanging fruit, people whose disappearances wouldn't attract much attention. She describes her first kill as difficult but admits that subsequent murders became easier. Uncle Oliver explained that continued killing was necessary to maintain her youthful appearance, as immortals still age, albeit extremely slowly. We witness her methodical approach to selecting victims, often seducing them before murder, claiming that, "It didn't matter how many people had to die or how dark I had to get just as long as it was fun." The film offers a brief but powerful interlude showing one of her victims, dubbed Miss Nobody, living a desperately monotonous life of spreadsheets, TV dinners, and loneliness. When Uncle Oliver and Bloody Mary break into her apartment, Miss Nobody almost welcomes death as an escape from her meaningless existence, thinking, "Finally, this is it. The sweet release of death." The narrative then shifts to Anastasia Black, a modern descendant dying from a mysterious illness. Recalling her grandmother's stories about trading a loved one's life for immortality, Anastasia sets out to fall in love before death claims her. She meets Dorian and falls hard and fast, only to discover his affections are spread much more freely. When she discovers he's cheating, she murders his lover, but realizes this won't save her from death. Eventually, she murders Dorian himself, the one she truly loves, making the ultimate sacrifice. When death appears to grant her immortality, she realizes the bitter irony. She'll live forever without the one person she wanted to share eternity with. Throughout these tales, the Keeper serves as our guide and reveals his own connection to the Black legacy. Not a Black but an Asher, a related family that had distanced itself from the dark practices. The Keeper explains how he gained immortality when his devout Catholic mother, fearing for his life during the Great War, returned to the ancient practices. Rather than killing another, she sacrificed herself on his behalf. Not a suicide but a martyrdom. Upon discovering his immortality, he returned to Black Manor to become the newest Keeper, learning all the stories and myths while managing the practical aspects of the family's dark legacy, cleaning up after killing sprees, moving bodies from the Tanglewood to the catacombs beneath the manor, and safeguarding the Book of Death. The film concludes with Annabelle Black, a modern immortal who has grown weary of endless existence. "For life to mean anything, you need to know you're going to die," she laments, explaining that her family took this knowledge from her when they performed the immortality ritual. She reflects on how forever means forever, and how things are only special because they don't last. While exploring a forgotten corridor in Black Manor, Annabelle discovers a small glass orb that, when touched, allows her to see everything and sense the death of time, described as the final death that represents the end of all things. For the first time in centuries, Annabelle can sense a beginning, a middle, and an end, not just for herself, but for Black Manor and the entire world. The film ends with this revelation, suggesting that even immortality has its limits in the face of universal entropy. Tales from Black Manor masterfully weaves these interconnected stories across time to explore humanity's obsession with immortality and the moral compromises we might make to achieve it. It shows how the desire to cheat death leads to a darker fate, eternal life hollowed of meaning and built on endless bloodshed. From Alistair Black's battlefield declarations to Annabelle's existential crisis, the film suggests that embracing mortality might be wiser than pursuing endless existence. Through its anthology structure and the connective tissue of the Keeper's narration, the movie creates a rich mythology around the Black family, while delivering chilling tales that span centuries yet share the same fundamental human fears and desires. As the Keeper tells a potential visitor in the film's closing moments, the opportunity for immortality remains available to this day for anyone willing to visit Black Manor. The price is death, he explains with chilling simplicity. Just not yours.